Okay, so today, this sort of ties in a way with what we've been doing with Wagner, although we haven't looked at the harmony that much of Wagner. You know, when I, when we were doing Schoenberg about a year ago, and I mentioned it at the time, there's little vestiges of Wagner and other later Romantic German stuff in Schoenberg, even in Webern, uh, and even here too. Uh, when you look at the harmony, it can almost all be explained according to conventional harmony. Not unlike some later things of Debussy's, which are simply whole tone and that's it. Um, there's vestiges, just like we used to live in the oceans when we were fish, and we have vestiges of gills in ourselves, namely the eustachian tubes and the tubes that connect the eyes with the nose, which, by the way, is why we get a runny nose when we cry. Um, and there's these little vestiges in us. Um, our five fingers are probably a vestige of what used to be fins. Yeah, and like I said in my email, uh, the younger Debussy made quite a reputation for himself. He would perform an entire Wagner opera, singing and playing, I think, or just playing maybe. Um, so I thought, yeah, and just to look ahead, there I'm positive that at one point in the Wagner, I pointed out a spot in the Wagner where you could say this is in two keys at once. You can analyze it either way. This ambiguity, the word ambi in Greek means either or. Um, and that's what we've got here. And if any of you, Daria, you said you watched the Leonard Bernstein.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's been a while since I've watched that, but when I did watch it, uh, I think he's going on to the same thing, that how the two keys that seem so unrelated do relate.
Yes, he does talk about that.
And I'm going to talk about that tonight. Okay, so we're going to start by listening to what on the piano score is just the first two pages, I think, because I'm going to mostly concentrate on that. And we will look at my analysis of that. And if there's time left over, there's another spot, page 10 and 11, and the piano score, no, or 11 and 12, where the main opening theme reappears. And it's kind of interesting that it reappears with yet other harmonizations. I should say that not just this, lots of things can be approached this way. Why? How did the composer go about doing this and choosing the harmonies? I remember once, I think it was maybe just an instruction book, or it might have been an actual theory exam from the Royal, I think maybe from the Western Board of Music, where they simply gave you one note and how many chords can you think of that contain this note? And it's like Debussy's got this opening theme, and how many different ways can I harmonize it? And I think if we were to look at the whole piece, we'd come with it up with at least three, depending on how much of it we're looking at. Okay.
Can I interrupt for a moment?
Oh, of course.
I was just going to ask, do we know how long it took him to compose this?
Well, um, no, that'd be something to research, eh? I know that, what was it? The Hafner Symphony of Mozart. Apparently, he composed the whole thing in 48 hours. But Mozart was extra special. Basically, he woke up in the morning with the whole symphony in his head, and he just had to write super fast. Okay, so I'm going to, and I wasn't able to get the computer sound thing because it wanted me to download a new software to be able to listen to the computers on. I didn't want to get bothered with that. Elgar will help us later on when I come to my copy of the score, which may or may not succeed in coming on here. I didn't succeed in getting 2 shares at once. But here we are, and okay, we can just sort of look at the score before we start it. Actually, that wouldn't be a bad idea. And it's very fuzzy here, and then suddenly it becomes clear for some reason. So in the first 2 pages, we basically have the flute solo, a chord just in the oboes and clarinets, which is interesting because they're quite different in color. I don't think we can hear that subtlety here. And you might want to pay attention to when the horns come in.
Reinhardt, why don't you make that full screen?
It's what?
Too small. Why don't you make that full screen? It's too small. This little
It is
tiny...
full screen. It is full screen on my computer.
No, you see.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Well, we're going to have to talk me through this then. Yeah, you probably see something like that.
Yeah, and then if you press this down here in the...
Yeah.
You see...
Yeah, no.
You're seeing the whole thing with all the different YouTube things that are...
Yeah. So we don't want that. Just press this thing right here, right? Go above, keep going up. Over it. No, too far. The bottom of the score. Go to the actual score.
Uh-huh. Yeah, right there's the full screen thing.
Yeah, click it.
I did before.
Click it again.
I did.
Well, then you got something wrong here. If you click the one beside it, or the one 2 over, what happens? It's got to work. You have to click on the score and see.
Now to the left of full screen is something called AirPlay. I have no idea what that is.
No, you don't want that.
Then there's one called Settings.
No, you don't want that either right now.
Playback quality, no. Then
No, but I don't think you have it highlighted. I don't think you have it active. So you need to click right on the score. I'm just guessing because that should work.
I just clicked on the score and that started the music.
Well, try full screen again.
Well,
This doesn't make sense.
Well, now, yeah, I can click on the score. It starts the music, which we don't want at the moment.
Go full screen. The whole thing should go take over the full screen.
Let's try.
Like it doesn't make sense.
Enter full screen.
That's a different type of full screen.
That's the full screen on my.
Yeah, which is better, but it's still not what we want.
But when I do the full screen on the score, I get it, but you don't.
Because that's too small to read. I can't read that.
Yeah, well, kind of wasting our time, aren't we?
Do me a... Okay, so get rid of the full screen.
I got to figure out how to do that. Exit full screen. Okay, there it is.
Yeah. Okay.
It has a green rim around it, which means...
Okay, you see this thing here? Okay, you see where it says YouTube up there?
Yeah?
Yeah, it says YouTube, and you see this squiggly thing at the end, which is to refresh it. Keep going. Reload this page.
Reload this page. Okay, should I do that?
Yeah. Okay, now try it.
Did it work?
Weird.
Did it work?
No.
No.
Huh. Oh well. That's very strange.
Well, I could stop the share and try again.
Yeah, you could, but I don't see why it would do that. Makes no sense to me.
Share screen. Here it is. Desktop 2 is what we want.
Okay, so what else do you have in desktop 2?
Nothing at the moment, because I wasn't able to get two things at once. And I don't want to screw it up with that at this point. So I'm going to hit desktop 2 and it's there on there.
Yeah, because if you went directly to the browser or to...
So here it is again. And there it is. You can see it, can't you?
No.
Oh, yeah, it's not. It's okay. It doesn't have a. Okay. It didn't have a green rim around it. Oh, that's because I didn't hit share.
Okay, we can see your screen, but now you got to put the browser on there.
This is music, but I don't want that. There's nothing to share at this moment. Share screen.
Okay, when you get to share a screen, before you do anything, what do you see? On the left-hand side, you see you can share. You got two different
Desktop
screens.
1 is you, a picture of you. Desktop 2 is just that screensaver, and I've lost everything else.
Well, that doesn't make sense.
I've
Is
still
your,
got
is
the
your
music.
browser is your browser running? Did you shut that down? Is Safari on? Is it up?
It's on, yeah.
Oh, well, it should be there.
What is this? Oh, that's just the. Oh. I'm going to have to. Oh, we have to give up on the. Have you all listened to it? We might. I mean, I've lost it now because of this stupid screen thing. I have to find it on YouTube again.
Well, that's a great. So just you want to share? Go and share your other screen. That's simple enough, right? Open up share, click the other screen, open it up, and we will see that as the whatever desktop for the other screen.
Share screen again?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can move that. So, but I haven't got it anymore to put on there. That's.
Well, open up the browser. Make sure that the browser is open. Go to the browser. Safari.
This one is in the way. I can't get at it.
No, it's all on your left-hand side there.
I know it's covered by a big number 1, which I can't get rid of. Oh, here.
Huh? I love when these things happen and I'm not there. I can't see it. It's like hilarious. Like, I've never heard of such a thing. Right?
Oh, things always go wrong with me that don't go wrong for anybody else. We can still listen to it. I haven't lost that, okay?
Well, then you can put it on the thing. I don't understand.
I've lost the score.
You can't unless you shut it down.
I must have shut it down by accident. I don't know.
Then go to the browser. Open up Safari.
There's this big one that I can't get rid of.
Click somewhere else. Big one. That makes no sense. Okay, listen to this. Hold down the command key and press tab. And hold it. Command tab. And you will see a list of all the things.
For some reason, my caps lock is on. I better get that off. Yeah, I need three hands to do this.
No, it's just command tab. That's it. You don't need three hands. You need a thumb and a finger.
Yeah. And well, there's Safari.
There, click on it.
I did. And there's this one that covers everything.
That's weird. You know, I'm tempted just to come on over and see that because that's just too hilarious.
Yeah.
I'd love to figure out.
I can't get rid of anything now.
Huh?
I've got this one, and I don't know what this is, meeting link, and it's covering everything else, and I can't make it smaller. It's there. Oh, wait a minute now.
Well, it's probably part of a different program that's overlapping.
Get rid of this window.
And so when you have that, you just go Command H and you hide it. You get rid of it.
Well, I hit the red button. I got rid of it.
There you go.
Well, anyhow, I've lost that score on YouTube. I'd have to go to YouTube and get it again.
Yeah, it takes seconds.
But to do that, I have to get Safari.
Yeah, I'll just go to Safari. YouTube. Got there before. We can do it again.
Okay. Okay. YouTube. L'après-midi d'enfant.
Okay, so what screen are you looking on that at? The small screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, right now, take that and drag it over to the big screen.
Can you see it?
No, because you haven't put on sharing yet, but I'm doing it so that when you do put on sharing, we will see it.
So, okay, I need to go. Well, I can put this up here. Now we have to go to the Zoom meeting. And hit share screen.
Mm-hmm. You can get the music.
And, yeah, here it is. Desktop 2, which is what I know what I need. It never works if it's not required. Now hit share.
There you go.
It still doesn't have a green thing around it.
No, we see it.
You see it, okay. So let's go to it.
Okay, so double click on that. Okay, try going to the larger share, to the full screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so somewhere along the line,
we'll never know what went wrong. We'll never know.
Yeah, you did something amazing.
let's start at the beginning.
Yeah, you can do that.
Actually, no, what we'll do,
Yeah.
I just wanted to look at now you can see the score. Okay. So we have the clarinets and the oboes sharing that chord, which is the first thing we hear other than the solo flute. And that comes simultaneously with the harp glissando, which is really a broken chord. An arpeggio, the word arpeggio means harp. That's the most cliche thing a harp can do. And it's the same chord in different octaves. And right after the harps come in and the woodwinds there, you should notice the horn, one horn coming in with just one note. And that horn continues on this line, which would be minor third lower. That's what you'll hear from it. And then the other horn does, I think. Solid chord, no? Okay. And then the strings come in right there for the first time, very softly. Sourdine means with mutes on. And then we hear just the violins. So it's basically the same chord again, but instead of it being doubled in the woodwinds, it's doubled in the violins now. And a little bit of a duet between the two horns. And then the theme comes back. Okay. And you see the oboes catch the last note of the flute. I'm over here already. The horns are doing what they did before. It's a bit of a challenge to see if you can hear. Notice what the horns are doing. You probably won't know unless you have good bass in your speakers. You probably won't hear what the bassoons are doing. And then you can sort of get everybody doing stuff. And that's already close to the end of the part I'm interested in. So let's go back and just listen to this finally. This is probably the last time we'll be able to do this on the McEwen website. Duet for siren and flute. Mute yourself, Algar. That's probably far enough for now. Okay, now I've got to get to share my scans. So, new share, I think. And that's right. The PDF, yes. Uh-huh. Can you see? Okay. Here we are. All right, here goes. First of all, these splotches of color are in a very skimpy Schenkerian melodic analysis. One is a descending line. And without worrying about the chords, I'm just going to do the melody lines. So that's the first important note, is that C sharp. And the other thing to notice is Debussy is not, he's doing the same thing everybody's done before him, which is to do something twice. Everything gets done twice. He's no different from Philip Glass that way. So now moves down one note. Moves down another note. Semitone this time. Moves down another whole tone. And maybe moves down to a G. And then it kind of loses itself. Another line would be the purple one. So at this point we are hearing stuff like and we're here now. We're one note higher. And the alt. There's the D sharp, the B sharp again. And it finally goes up one more step to C sharp, which is our starting note. So we started with a lower descending line, then it came a rising line. And now comes the green, which doesn't start till here. I'm just starting at the beginning of that page there. And we get a rising line. Another 10 tone higher. One note higher, but not really. We haven't really gone higher yet. And then finally that B goes another semitone higher and another semitone higher. So the purple and the green lines join together and become the same line. And that's sort of how Schenkerian melodic analysis works. So phrase structure. On the smaller scale, second measure is a repeat of the first measure. And then this. repeats here. But it repeats more closer together. This is the sort of the densification that happens. When you've heard it a couple of times, you're not going to bore people with all that again. You just do the important stuff again. But I do remember being taught by Sandra Mann, or she mentioned that in a piano lesson, that Debussy, whereas Wagner would do sequence and repeat something a step higher and another step higher until he has an orgasm, Debussy wants the sort of meditative quality of just simple repetition. The same ethic you find in Stravinsky. It's also sort of a neo-primitivism thing. It was cool to be primitive. It was cool to get away from the over-cultured music of Western European civilization, go back to the pure, unspoiled art of the peasants, or the hunter-gatherers. So you can tell when it comes closer together here, we're coming to some kind of an important climax, and there's a double bar, and guess what happens? We get the beginning over again. Note for note exactly. At what point does it depart? Well, this is the same thing that happens in sonata form. You repeat the whole opening, but at some point you have to depart from what you did the first time around, or you'll never be finished. You'll just be going around in circles for the rest of eternity. So this is here again. If you sort of look at that while I play this, we still have so we had that, and we have it again. And then we have, here we had, we don't have that again. That does not happen. So at this point, interestingly enough, where the double bar is, we depart from what we did before. This is new stuff. Yeah. And again, we have this thing, it repeats the entire measure, then it repeats just one beat 6 times. And again, it gets denser and denser. Something important is going to happen, double bar. Guess what? We do the opening theme again. That's just a decoration of the original theme. And now we're going in another direction. And to think of all the directions it could have gone, we'd be here a long time. I'd have to prepare a lot more too. All right. We have a key signature of 4 sharps. Well, we learned in theory that means key of E major. And we can kind of hear that in E major. We could have, if you hear nothing else, you might imagine that harmony underneath that melody. Well, the chord he does go to. Now, in fact, I did this a couple of years ago, and I put these pop music chord symbols in here. This is an E major at its 6th chord. And he actually does use that. Then we have a C7th on top of an E. And when it does happen, he doesn't do the C7th. He does the G7th, interestingly enough. But yeah, this is sort of what we might imagine. G sharp major 7th. No, G sharp 7. So that's an E major 7th chord. You might imagine that 13th chord there. It's juicier, but not like that. And then we have an actual chord, which is an, okay, we'll come to that in a minute. Now, this C 7th chord here, any 7th chord, here, this is C 7th chord, C, E, G, B flat. That B flat can always potentially be thought of as an A sharp, and then the 7th chord becomes a German 6th chord. If it's a B flat, it becomes a dominant chord of F major. If it's an A sharp, it becomes an augmented 6th leading from both sides. The A sharp, I wish I would sing a little sharper than the piano plays it, and the C on the bottom approached B from both sides. It's a semitone from A sharp to B. And the standard resolution of a German 6th is like this, which is the dominant of E major. Interestingly enough, the two resolutions are half a tone apart, aren't they? F major and E major. This would not fire. F major. E major, F major. They're half a tone apart. So that chord is in two keys that are a half a tone apart. And you can already see, you've got a red letter and a blue letter here, half a tone apart. It's both in the key of E flat and the key of E at once. So you can imagine that to be, you cannot imagine this C 7th chord to be in the key of F major. You could, but I'd have to make a new melody. And that actually sounds pretty good, because that B there is a B natural. So we have B natural and B flat at the same time, but it seems to work. I can't explain why. There's other spots like that. It's very intricate harmony. So what's this? That's what the harps do then. Okay. It's a half diminished chord. A half diminished chord in classical harmony is always 2 of a minor key. Here's the same chord in root position. The notes are A sharp, C sharp, E, G sharp, which you can also think of as B flat, D flat, F flat, A flat, and if you think of it that way, the A flat at the top goes to a G, and then we're in the key of A flat minor. So it's 2/7 of 5 of 4. 4 is we're in the key of E flat. 4 of E flat is A flat. E flat, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. It's A flat, and 5 of that is E flat again. 2, 3, 4, 5. There's E flat again. And the root of this chord is a B flat or A sharp. So I could have ended it like that. Debussy doesn't do that though. It's just potentially there. Music is full of virtual notes and chords and possibilities which are only virtually there. But if you can imagine those possibilities, you can come to a point like this and the piece is mysterious. What's he going to do next? Where could he go? He doesn't go there, but he could have gone there. Or, if we want to analyze this chord in the key of E, 7. Remember, Rheingold. Remember from Wagner, eh? It's 7, 7. So it's 7 of 5 of E. Here's E. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. B. 7 of B is A sharp. 7, 7 is A sharp, C sharp, E, G sharp. However, that kind of a chord is also an F sharp ninth chord. Root 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, and that's how Wagner uses it. So that root F sharp is not present here, but it's potentially there. Just like my address is 9669, there is no 96th Street here, it's a virtual street. Very much like that. So if we imagine it to be 5 of 5 or 7 of 5, 5 of E is B, so we're going 2, 5 of 5 is 2, 2, 5, 1. So he could have done. He could have done that, but he doesn't. Okay, but we're in a 4 sharp keys. All of a sudden we have something, a whole bunch of flats. So in the flat key of E flat, this is very easy. It's just 5. 5, 1. Right? And so when we have nothing chromatic there, we're totally in the key of E flat major. That's here. No problem with that. But we're in a sharp key, so how can we explain it in the key of E major? Well, remember, any dominant 7th chord is also an augmented 6th chord. So B flat, D, F, A flat. That A flat can be think of as a D sharp, and then it's a resolution of a German 6th chord. And that's what I mean by augmented 6th going to 5, which is A bass, A, D, F sharp, A. Going to D, which is 4 of A, which is 4 of E, which is the other key we're analyzing here, you see. But of course you can say since it's going there anyhow, why do we just say it goes from the augmented sixth chord to 4? Well, classically, they're not supposed to go to chord 4. But yeah, I mean, if I do that, which is, yeah, it can do that. If it's a French sixth, it can resolve like that. So the German sixth is just more cumbersome to analyze. And so all that happens again, and again we're on that B flat 7th chord. And we have one extra note. So on that chord we hear that as a chromatic lower neighbor to the F, which is the 5th of the chord. If we're thinking of it as an augmented 6th chord though, it's actually a note of the French sixth, which is B flat, D, E, G sharp. So that French sixth can be thought of being in a sharp key. So originally, there it is, E7th going to A. No, wait a minute. There we are. The top of it is just notes from a E7th chord, D, E, G sharp. Normally that would have a B underneath. And the French sixth is derived from a flattening of that B. And if we think of it that way, then this E is not a neighbor note to a chord note, it is a chord note. And this F becomes a chromatic passing note. And that's kind of how we hear it. Yeah, it's leading us to F sharp. And then he puts underneath that melody, which we thought we were hearing in E major, over a D major chord. Okay, now we're going to go to another sheet where I actually wrote this out in a very simple form. So I'd have more room for the analysis. Look at that. The two dots here mean it's done twice. I was lazy. And now we go to the next measure. I'll just keep playing through it. We're here now. There we are in our B flat 7th again. We're going to listen to this twice. Notice this G flat here, that 13th, it's so juicy. I'm do it again. Again. And having done it twice, he just does, I think, twice. And here we are in E major, add a sixth chord, and that brings us back to here. That was the same spot. And that's as far as I photocopied this. Okay. So. And by the way, Tan, you might be the only one wanting to pursue this any further. This is on Google Drive.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And you might want to actually study it in detail. Let's see what we can get done today.
Yeah.
Here. I think you still have the permissions, and let me know if you've lost that. So here we are. So a difference. It used to go down to G sharp. Now it only goes down. It goes down a step further to G natural. And we have, okay, we've got this D major chord. What's that got to do with E major? Sure, it's flat 7. You can think of it that way. But flat 7 is not a chord it really got used in late Romantic music. Yeah, the chords are very juicy, and they lead to jazz harmony too. They really do. So the blue ones are a little easier to follow because it's we do have a sharp key here. So what is that? What is a D major chord? And it's a D major 7th. Well, D is 4 of A. 4, 3, 2, 1. And A is 4 of E. That's our key. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So it's 4 of 4. You can have 5 of 5, and you can have 5 of 5 of 5, and that's dominance of dominance. You can have a secondary dominance, but it's also possible to have secondary subdominance, which is 4. So let's see, how could... Hey, I got us back to E, look at that. It's not that far-fetched. So that's straightforward enough. And then it goes to a G 7th chord, which is the dominant of a C chord. There's no C chord here. It's a virtual chord, but it is the dominant of that chord. So G is 5 of C, which is 4 of 4, which is G, which is four of D, which is this chord. And we've already explained how this one derives from E, so it's kind of a long ways away. And then always remember this is a dominant 7th chord. It could be an augmented 6th chord. It's a German 6th. And that means we've got an F natural, D, B, okay, no, it's change that to a French 6, we have E sharp, C sharp, B, would resolve to an F sharp chord. Chromatic passing note gives you that G natural. The German 6 goes resolves to a dominant of a key, which in this case is B. The French 6 resolves directly to that tonic, which is F sharp. And that relates quite nicely. F sharp is the dominant of there's an F sharp chord, which is the dominant of B, which is the dominant of E. There we are. So still in the blue area, that G7th chord could be thought of in the key of E, a different way from this one. Now all the red stuff, how do we get that in a flat key? Well, rather simply, a G7th chord is a dominant of a C chord, which is a dominant of an F chord, which is a dominant of a B flat chord, which is a dominant of a E flat chord. See? That's how it could be thought to relate. Notice this 4 or 4 or 4. You can see that reappearing in lots of other places. That seems to be a thing he does a lot of here. I should also mention that the key of E is the Neapolitan of E flat. So the whole piece ends in the key of E too. So if it were being thought of as a Neapolitan, it would end in E flat. I think Also sprach Zarathustra from Richard Strauss does that, but Debussy is not doing that. I don't think he was aware of Richard Strauss. So without getting into too darn much detail with that, I think I can show that now. Yeah. The G7th chord is also we can also derive the augmented 6th chord from 2 in the key of E minor. No, let's not. Let's imagine ourselves in the key of D. 1 and E is 2. 2. And we have a chord. 2 is a minor key in a major key. Minor chord in a major key. There's chord 2, E, G, B, E. Take away the bottom and put it in root position. We have G, B, E. Now we sharpen the E to E sharp. And there's your augmented 6th chord resolving to some F sharps. However, there's another resolution, which you'll get in any advanced classical harmony book. And you've heard that lots in Wagner, right? And so that's the other resolution of the augmented 6th chord. It resolves not to the 5th note of some scale, but to the 3rd note of a scale, the 3rd note of a third of a major chord, which is a D, which is that chord, you see. That's another way of thinking how that relates. Okay, Now, and then we come to this chord, which in the key of E is very easy to harmonize, to analyze. So coming from before, I'll go from the beginning of the line. Here's our 7/7 again of E. 7 of E is D, D sharp, F sharp, A, C sharp. There's Rheingold. So again, there's a virtual B underneath that, which I think does, yes, it does appear. In there. Let's just check that. Yep, there's the B underneath it. So it is in root position. It is a dominant ninth chord. If you remember from Wagner, all the crucial parts of the Valhalla theme always have a 13th chord at the climax. Can't remember it right now. But I'm sure Debussy, when he felt he needed to put that in there, he said, well, Wagner did it, I've got to do it too. And so this is pretty easy then. It's just a dominant chord. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 1. 5, 9. Root 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th. 9th. 11th is not present here. And here's the 13th. 11th, 13th. And it does resolve. Very conventional. So when you listen to it, you say, okay, he's being pretty darn conventional here. And of course, ending on an added 6th chord from a 13th is a standard jazz ending. I'm sure you've heard that in IRA. And Debussy, later in his life, did hear some minstrel groups from the States coming to Paris. This is, I don't know who wrote this, but it's fairly early. He might not have heard that yet, but he might have. Okay, so there we're at the home key of E with an E chord. And it goes to a C sharp 7th. C sharp, E sharp, G sharp, B. Of course, what makes this the ear easy to look, we've got this chromatic bass line. D sharp, and then we have E, and then E moves to E sharp. E sharp becomes an F, it's the same note. And then, it does go to F sharp. But it's not the bottom of the chord. But I guess you could follow that line there. And we would expect that G flat to go to G natural somewhere. Nah, it doesn't really happen. But there's a little bit of a Schenkerian line there, I just noticed. Okay, so the C sharp 7th chord is very easy to explain in E major because it's the dominant of F sharp, which is the dominant, so 5 of 2, which is 5, which is 5 of 5, which is 5 of 1, which is E. So, or maybe with the added sixth. That's easy enough to figure out. And there we have the edit. So we have had that before, right? No, we didn't. We had it. No, we're having it for the first time here. But the first time it went, it goes to B7, B flat 7th chord. Now, yes, it does. So from a E added 6th chord, C sharp 7th chord, it goes to, you see how just one or two notes move by half step and most of it stays the same. Yeah, we're going to this chord. Mind you, we're moving down now. We really are moving in a flat direction. But anyhow, to get back to this, this should resolve to an F sharp minor chord. It doesn't. Instead, the E sharp becomes an F natural, so that C sharp, E sharp, G sharp, B, augmented 6th could resolve to a C chord or to an F chord. Okay. It doesn't. However, it's an augmented 6th chord in the key resolving to E, which would resolve to from A to A, and then from A we can easily resolve to E. So if we spell this with sharps rather than flats, it's actually not that far away from that chord. Now, the red stuff. This, of course, is very easy. That's just a dominant chord in E flat. What's this in E flat? Well, it's a dominant of G flat, which is a dominant of or subdominant of D flat, which is a subdominant of. Notice how when we go downward in the circle of fifths, it doesn't it feel like we're walking backwards? Yeah, to me it feels like that. And when we're going upwards, it feels like we're walking forward. So in that sense, we can think of it that way. You can also think of it as an augmented 6th chord. That's D flat now, and B going to C, which is, well, then we'd have to go through the circle of fifths. F, B flat, E flat, there we are. You can think of it that way. There's definitely this ambiguity throughout. This is an interesting one here. When you hear this, so we went that's very definitely a 2 chord. 2, 5, 1 in D flat. And we do in fact have a dominant chord and a tonic chord of D flat coming up. And which of course is 4 of A flat, which is 4 of E flat. So it's not that far away. However, so this 2/7 in the major key also is a little bit like an A flat 7th with the sus4. So that 2/7 is simultaneously a dominant chord. 2 is a subdominant chord and 5 is a dominant chord, but it's sort of both at once. Again, it's ambiguous. And so this, we have this then, and the melody goes. Now this figure, up a step and then down a little further, up a major second and down a minor third. I put some numbers here. We could hear it like that, which is 4, 5, 3 in B major. Now we can also hear it as 5, 6, 4. Sharp 4. Okay? Debussy doesn't do that, but we could have heard it like that. Or the red stuff is the flat keys. Well, in E flat major, 6, 7, 5. Now if the 6 and 7 become flat, we get, and again, he doesn't harmonize it like that, but we could hear it like that. He has, but if we hear, we're still coming to that B flat 7th chord. So with view to this chord, that's how we hear this. So that with that leg, we're standing in the flat area. And that brings us to this. One, 2, 7. So in D flat major, 1, 2, 7. And that 1 is the 7th of a 2 chord, and that's the 3rd of a 5 chord. 1, 2, 7. D flat, C sharp. Yeah, so you can hear it either way, in sharps or in flats. And then we have another 13th. And it is a, no, it's a ninth. If this is an E flat 7th chord root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, it's the 9th of an E flat chord. It is the 7th of an A flat chord, which was this chord here. So that note is the 13th of that chord. And it's coming right up. And it comes right here in the tenor voice. There's the 13th in the tenor voice, or the alto voice, which of course is an upper neighbor of the 5th of the chord, which is what you get here. So this F kind of gives us a preview of this F here. So we're very much in a flat, D flat. We're hearing D flat major at this point. And now we're in E flat major again. Okay, so it's a half diminished chord. In the sharp key, it's 2 of A. There's an E 7th chord. And there we are in an E chord. So we're not very far from E major or E minor. If we think of that, there is a major 7th in this, B to A. Well, if you think of the A as, let's think of the B as a C flat. Yeah. E flat, there we are. So, and there we are on an E flat chord. So if you, that chord makes more sense in the flat keys than in the sharp keys, I must say. No, we're over here now. And indeed, we go to the dominant of E flat. And of course, it's also yeah. There, we have that augmented sixth resolving. And another 13th chord. See the 13 there? I hope in the orchestration he gives a nice incisive instrument to that note. He probably does. Yeah? We should be resolving to E flat major, but do we do that? And then we get this B sharp. And that takes us to the sharp key. And in terms of the sharp key, this chord, half diminished, of 2 of E major. Just a minute. That would resolve to E flat major. Aha. There is another one here. Aha. So there is a major section which is the same as the minor seventh. B, A. There's another one. E flat, E flat. So this one resolves to the flat key. This one resolves. So this chord is F, A, B, D sharp now. The D sharp and the F are going to resolve to E, which is our other key, you see. So again, it's a deceptive cadence, you could say. We're expecting at this point a resolution in. So he sometimes goes in the one direction, sometimes he goes in the other direction. And it's a surprise, but it's not a. It's a surprise that kind of makes sense, if you can think of it that way. Okay. And just to continue with what I photocopied here, that takes us to, here you see the red thing means, no, here it is, here it is, that's a mistake. A C chord now, which is the Neapolitan of B, and that was a B bass there. Wait a minute, that's an E. Okay. In the key of E, chord 1, chord 2, chord 3, chord 4, chord 5, chord 6 is a C sharp minor chord. In the key of E minor, chord 1, chord 2, chord 3 maybe, chord 4, chord 5, chord 6 is a C major chord. So he's borrowed chord 6 from E minor, which is pretty, not that hard to understand how that relates to E major, which is a very common trick that lots of 19th century composers used to add some color, to borrow from the tonic minor. But now we're clearly, for a whole section, in E major. So those chord progressions are pretty darn romantic. So this can all be explained in terms of the added sixth chord, or maybe major seventh chord. Passing note, B sharp, going to C sharp. It forms chords, but you can just think of it in terms of it is a chord. It's a secondary dominant, but I don't have to worry too much about that. There's a Walt Disney movie that did that. I can't remember which one it was. And that takes us to the dominant ninth chord. But this is what's happening here. I'll start right here. We have this chord, then we have this chord, and then we have this chord superimposed on that bass line. So that is simply a G sharp minor triad, moving the entire thing chromatically to a G minor triad, to an F sharp minor triad, which is passing chords, and it's a favorite device of jazz, chromatically passing chords. And that's, I think, as far as we'll go today. Right, so, yeah, well, maybe some of that made sense. This will be the last time, I think, that we'll be able to use this platform, and next time. Okay, so I am thinking of doing some traveling. I'm still here next Friday, but maybe not. In 2 weeks I'll be here, but I might be busy getting ready for a trip. Well, it's possible in 2 weeks. Yeah, we'll have to find another platform. Who's up for in 2 weeks?
I'm available.
And
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah,
I could probably do that.
yeah. Elgar is usually around, eh? Maybe Susan might even have her laptop again by that time. Because it would be kind of nice to follow through with this and look at the other place where the theme comes back with new harmonies and see what else we can find. And maybe look at the end of the piece too. So, okay, I'll try to commit to that. I can't completely commit to it, but if I feel that I have the time to prepare it, I'll let you know. Okay? And it might end up being on Skype or something.
Okay, thanks.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's
there's
stop
also
the share
Google
here.
Meet is another thing to consider, I guess. Does anybody know?
I did try that.
Which
I
of these are
tried that in
better?
a piano lesson. The sound was awfully tinny, but we can try it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know which one would be best. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah.
If you decide to go on a trip, I hope that your preparations go well.
Yeah. Well, doing a road trip and staying in campgrounds, you don't catch COVID that way.
Yeah.
Where are we here? Stop recording. Let's do that.